Unbelievable moment, Barista's amazing kindness transforms life of guest. A billionaire revealed. Mia polished the espresso machine, the rhythm like a song she had memorized. The cafe buzzed with familiar faces and the palpable energy of another morning, and yet one corner remained somewhat dim. Mr. Thompson, the elusive patron draped in his trench coat and sunglasses, stirred feelings of unease within her. He arrived daily, a ghostly figure steeped in isolation, sipping coffee to shield his loneliness. Today, however, his presence felt heavier, like the weight of the wall he constructed around himself clung to the air. Mia wiped down the counter, occasionally stealing glances at him. She could sense there was something beneath his stoic mask, a lingering sadness that echoed her own struggles. Caring for her ailing father, once a vibrant artist brimming with dreams, had left her tethered to a life that felt both fulfilling and unbearably heavy. She loved the customers, cherished every moment of connection, but as the sun broke through the cafe windows, illuminating the cracks in her own facade, she felt inches away from collapsing under the pressure. "Mia, do you have any plans for the holiday weekend?" a cheerful regular asked, snapping her back to reality. She smiled, but the weight made the gesture feel forced. "Just working," she replied, feeling the ache rise in her chest. Her mind wrestled with the unceasing worry, a reassignment of roles she didn't ask for but couldn't evade. As customers poured in, the laughter reminded her of warmth cradled beneath her worry, yet memories of long hospital nights clawed through her heart. Her phone buzzed sharply, shattering her momentary distraction. She answered in haste, and her breath hitched as her mother's frantic voice flooded through. Her father had taken a turn for the worse. The world melted into muted sounds. In an instant, the Barista's brightly lit cafe became a dim room, shadows creeping in as she realized this could be the start of something irreversible. Panic surged like a tidal wave, making her chest tighten with unshed tears. Mr. Thompson noticed. Though he remained ensconced in his carefully constructed armor, Mia's distress pulled at something long dormant within. Guilt wrapped itself around his heart as he remembered how he had once pulled strings causing pain that lingered in others' lives, including Mia's. The juxtaposition of his wealth against her vulnerability clawed at him from the inside, screaming just how hollow success felt in the absence of compassion. "Mia," he said cautiously, the quiet rasp of his voice almost lost among the clattering of cups. She met his gaze, the flicker of connection unmistakable. For a moment, he hesitated, yearning to say the right thing, but the years of isolation had left him clumsy. In that silence, the weight of his world pressed against hers, layered in the tension of their different paths. As she turned away momentarily, wrestling with thoughts of her father, he felt a flicker of hope mingle with his guilt, igniting a resolve he didn't know he had. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." Their connection hung in the air, suspended between moments. Mia's heart raced, her father's dream slipped through her fingers with each tick of the clock. Could she really juggle his legacy while facing the reality of what it meant if he didn't pull through? The very thought unsettled her, shadowed by the burdens she had yet to articulate. Watching Mr. Thompson, his aloofness cracked, she considered the very thing he lacked, their worlds colliding in unbearable tension. The kindness she extended, the laughter she so desperately wanted him to embrace seemed to retreat at this precipice. How could she allow herself to trust a man who had so much while she had so little? Uneasiness flooded her prayers for the chance to heal, and then the phone rang again, and with it, a new decision loomed. Would she allow his investment, even if it might mean losing the fragile connection that they had built? She turned to Mr. Thompson, potentially a savior, potentially a ghost of the loneliness she felt. He may have been the very architect of the pain she fought to keep at bay. And as she teetered on the brink of an opportunity for her father, she could feel the ground giving way beneath her. Would this plunge her deeper into sadness, or lift her toward hope? An abyss of uncertainty gaped ahead, and the choice threaded through her like a pulse demanding, relentless and utterly raw. Mia's heart pounded in her chest, the rhythmic beat echoing the uncertainty swirling around her. The phone still buzzed in her palm, an incessant reminder of the urgency of her situation. Taking a deep breath, she focused her gaze on Mr. Thompson, whose brow furrowed in thought, perhaps pondering his own internal struggle. Their mutual isolation was a thick fog that hung heavily in the small café, and the air around them seemed charged with the weight of unspoken words. "Mr. Thompson," she began, the tremor in her voice betraying the calm persona she attempted to project. I need to talk to you." His surprise was evident, the flicker of curiosity in his eyes drawing her closer to the edge of vulnerability. This was a pivot point, a chance to bridge their worlds or collapse further into solitude. "All right," he replied slowly, gesturing her to sit at the small table closest to his corner. The distance between them felt monumental yet intimate. The clamor of the café faded as they entered their own bubble of shared trepidation. "I received a call from my mother. My dad is not doing well," she said, the lump in her throat constricting her ability to breathe freely. "I've been taking care of him, but it's becoming harder." He nodded, a shared understanding flickering across their eyes. She could sense the temptation to retreat into silence, but they both lingered in this delicate moment of connection, like two ships lost in a fog finally making contact. "I can only imagine how tough that must be," he murmured, almost to himself, grappling with the notion. "You shouldn't have to bear that all on your own." His words cut through her despair, igniting unease and hope in equal measure. What was he offering? In that instant, she recalled the way he observed life through his shades, a master of aloofness attempting to engage. The weight of his encounter was palpable, and she felt the urgency to lay everything bare. "Thank you, but I don't want your pity," she said fiercely, her voice steady now as a flicker of defiance surged within her. "I'm trying to hold on to what little I have left. This café, my father's dreams, they're all I have." "I respect that completely," he replied, his candor disarming. "But what if I'm offering something different? What if I could actually help?" Her mind raced, grappling with the implications of his words. Trust hovered just out of reach, hovering like a mirage. Help? With what? She questioned, the sharpness of her tone belying the frailty she felt inside. "Invest in your father's art, help ensure that legacy continues, and yours, too," he said earnestly, his eyes earnest behind the dark lenses. The proposition curled around her head, clashing with her instincts. Could she allow herself to accept aid from someone like him? Inner conflict welled up like a storm threatening to break her resolve. Reflection turned inward. Mia thought about her father's unwavering passion for his craft, how she had stolen brushes from his studio to try and bring fragments of his dreams back to life. But the bad days were getting worse, and her schedule had devolved into a relentless cycle of coffee runs and hospital visits. For a fraction of a second, the café, with its soothing smells and light chatter, felt like a sanctuary built on the precipice of her decision. If she allowed Mr. Thompson into her father's world, would the darkness that hovered around them ease, or would it only deepen when the reality of money and expectation intervened? Desperation clawed at Mia, her values and fears were clashing in an unforgiving collision. This was her moment of truth, a gnawing question of morality and pride danced in her chest. Would accepting his help mean surrendering her father's dreams to another person's interpretation? Mia exhaled, releasing the tension that had gathered. "Let me think about it," she said softly but firmly, instinctively repositioning the emotional landscape of their interaction. Little did she know, the decision would carve a new path through her uncertainty and into a future she hadn't yet dared to dream. But deep down, she feared that accepting an olive branch from Mr. Thompson could complicate the fragile fabric of both their lives, tethering her dreams to the man who had embodied everything she wrestled with. As she met his gaze, she felt the thread of fate tighten around them. There was potential a fork in the road where sacrifice and gain would twist together in a complex dance. What choice would she make when the moment demanded it? Only time would tell as the café grew busier, drowning the room in a symphony of sound and yet leaving their table in haunting silence. And in that silence, a new question rooted itself in her heart: if she accepted his offer, who would she become in the process? Mia gazed out the window, her mind grappling with the swirl of possibilities. The city hustled past, contrast stark against her internal stagnation. A voice inside urged her to act, while another clung to the fear of letting anyone else carry her dreams. Wasn't he at the core of her existence, to carve her own path without compromising her father's legacy? With each passing moment, the decision loomed larger, like a dark cloud threatening to eclipse her every thought. She cradled her phone, a channel of anxiety, waiting for a call that might never come. The reality of her father's condition pressed down on her, a relentless reminder that urgency, rather than comfort, had become her daily companion. The air shifted as Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, pulling her back to the present. "Mia," he said softly, his voice cutting through her chaos, "I mean it when I say I want to help. I see something in you that I don't think you've even recognized yet." "What do you see?" She met his gaze, searching for sincerity amid the veil of uncertainty. "Potential. A unique perspective that your father's art has cultivated in you. You possess a talent for understanding beauty even in darkness," he explained. Each word dripped with raw honesty that both intrigued and terrified her. Mia shifted in her seat, an unsettling mixture of pride and shame folding into her stomach. "I'm not an artist. I'm just a barista trying to keep her family together." His lips turned into a slight smile, one that masked deeper knowing. "That's where you're missing the point. You have artistry in your veins, Mia. Helping your father doesn't mean overtaking his legacy, it means preserving and expanding it. Letting it breathe into new life." Her heart raced at the thought, was it truly possible? For the first time, solace peeked from behind her fears. What if there was a way to blend their worlds harmoniously, one where she could channel her father's passion while maintaining her own identity? "So, tell me," Mia implored, her curiosity piqued, hesitant yet eager. "What do you see happening if I say yes?" Mr. Thompson leaned closer, lowering his voice as if they were sharing a secret. "An exhibition, but not just any exhibition, a celebration of your father's work, showcasing new pieces inspired by you." The vision ignited something dormant within her. A burgeoning hope flickered, its soft glow urging back the shadows of despair. "An exhibition? But I don't have nearly enough experience to pull something like that off." "Exactly," he grinned, a spark in his eye that suggested he was relishing the moment. "You don't have to do it alone. I could help you with logistics, funding, connections. This could establish both your father's legacy and your own path as an artist." Her walls trembled under the weight of new possibilities. A collaboration. The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. But with it came the nagging fear of relinquishing control, a fear steeped in the urgency of protecting what was most precious to her. What if it fails? The question slipped out before she could catch it, revealing her vulnerability. What if it succeeds? He countered, leaning back, arms crossed, assessing her intently. "You'll never know if you don't take that first step." In that instant, Mia's hand trembled as she fidgeted with the edge of her coffee cup. The world expanded before her, but she felt like a tightrope walker balancing precariously on the edge of a decision. Could she risk tying her future to someone she hardly knew? The stakes felt insurmountable yet enticing. Every scenario played in her mind, a vivid tapestry woven with strands of hope and fear. What if Mr. Thompson was right? What if she was capable of more than she believed? But then, the weight of potentially failing weighed heavily on her. What if, in seeking support, she lost the essence of her father entirely? As these thoughts cascaded, the urgency of the moment crashed down around her, almost palpable in the atmosphere of the cafe. "Mia," he prompted gently, pulling her from her restless thoughts. "What will it be?" She looked into his eyes, searching for the comfort she desperately needed. The decision unraveled before her, an opportunity shimmering like a mirage on the horizon. But the question lingered in her heart: if she stepped into this unknown territory, what would she have to sacrifice? The cafe buzzed with life around them, yet their table remained suspended in an intimate pocket of time. And finally, the pivotal thought pierced her inner chaos: would she dare to take that leap even if it meant confronting what lay beyond her carefully constructed walls? From the depths of uncertainty, Mia gathered her resolve, but the throbbing question remained: what type of person would she need to become to seize this chance? The weight of Mr. Thompson's question lay heavy in the air, an anchor threatening to drag her deeper into the waters of decision. Mia's gaze darted around the cafe, absorbing the lively chatter and the comforting clinks of cups being set down. Yet, the warmth of those surroundings felt distant as she wrestled with the gravity of her potential choice. Breathing deeply, she tuned into the rhythm of her heartbeat, each pulse echoing the dichotomy of excitement and fear swirling inside her. What would it mean to go forward? She envisioned not just an exhibition of her father's works but a creation sparked from her essence. The thought ignited a flame, a passion that, until now, had remained dormant in the recesses of her mind. There was a stark difference between how she saw herself as merely a barista and the artist that Mr. Thompson saw in her. What if she truly embraced the latter? An emerging sense of resolve started to settle within her, urging her to confront her fears directly. Her father had faced countless challenges in his life, and although he often kept his struggles hidden behind brushstrokes of color, Mia felt now that it was her turn to honor his legacy by being brave as he had always been. "Maybe it's my time to learn," she murmured, surprising herself with the words. Mr. Thompson leaned in, eyes sparkling with encouragement. "Exactly. Imagine bringing life to your father's legacy in a way that reflects who you are now. The struggle, the joy, everything you've experienced can add depth to this project." But guilt grabbed at her heart as the weight of her father's image loomed large. Would she ever be able to create something that felt worthy enough to represent him? What if her inadequacy tarnished what he had worked so hard to build? Questions swirled, threatening to rinse away her newfound confidence before it could solidify. "Okay," she whispered, breath hitching in her throat. "I'll do it." The words poured out, a release of pent-up emotions that flooded her with newfound clarity and terror. "What a fantastic choice, Mia." Mr. Thompson's voice rose with enthusiasm, a stark contrast to her swirling apprehension. "Now we can work on a plan, a timeline. You retain creative control. I want to do this for you but alongside you." The promise of partnership filled her with a sense of safety, yet she was acutely aware of the sharp edge of vulnerability that came with collaboration. Could she truly let someone else in to witness the process of creation, the mistakes, the revisions, the flashes of brilliance? An unexpected thought rippled through her: she was not alone. This moment marked a crucial pivot in her life. As the cafe bustled with life, she began to visualize possibilities, shoring up the corners of her indecision with faith in herself. But beneath this flicker of optimism lay a haunting question: how would she reconcile her father's influence with her desire to forge her own identity? Would forging this new path mean letting go of how she had always seen herself? As they spoke, her tension softened, giving way to a cautious hope. The fear of failure no longer felt insurmountable, it felt like an invitation to grow. Yet, doubt lingered like a shadow: who would she be on the other side of this endeavor? As she chuckled nervously about the potential chaos this change could stir within her routine, a deeper truth flickered within her, a realization of just how much she had been holding back. "Mia." Mr. Thompson's voice sliced through her thoughts. "There's one last thing we need to address. Funding and promotion are key to making this successful. I know someone who can help, but I want to be upfront, this might shake things up." His statement hung in the air, unspoken implications gathering like storm clouds. What kind of assistance would he mean? And what sacrifices might she have to consider in order to advance her father's legacy and her own aspirations? In her heart, she felt a warning, a creeping sense that stepping further into this collaboration might disrupt more than she anticipated. Would she move forward and face what lay beyond, or pull back and preserve the status quo? All of a sudden, her fingers trembled against her coffee cup, signifying the uncertainty still anchoring her down. It would be a new beginning, but what echoes of her current life might she have to relinquish in the process? Her mind raced, and she turned to Mr. Thompson, the weight of her unspoken fears hanging heavy in her eyes. What kind of storm are we talking about here? The environment felt charged, alive with potential, but also fraught with the need for decisions yet to be made, further intertwining her burgeoning aspirations with potential consequences. The tension between Mia's aspirations and her uncertainties thrummed in her chest as she absorbed Mr. Thompson's implications. The cafe faded into a mere backdrop, bustling diners, and their laughter dwindling around her like an echo in a distant hallway. All she could focus on were the ramifications of what was to come: change, exposure, and perhaps even discomfort. How big is this storm? She pressed, attempting to sound resolute although her stomach twisted in knots. The uncertainty stretched out before her, a vast expanse with no clear horizon, and she felt herself teetering on the brink of a precipice. Thompson regarded her intently, clearly gauging the weight of her fears. "I'm introducing you to a prominent art patron, Benjamin Luxton. He has connections, resources, and experience. But he's not an easy guy. He expects a vision, results, and he's not afraid to challenge you. It will be invaluable, but you have to be ready for the pressure that comes with it." Pressure. The word hung heavily in the air. Mia grappled with the idea of being thrust into the spotlight, her father's legacy entwined with her fledgling ambition. What if she failed to meet expectations? The artist she aspired to be had yet to emerge fully, and facing someone with clout like Mr. Luxton felt daunting. Could she reveal her vulnerabilities, or would they be viewed as weaknesses? "I need time to think about it," she declared, her voice steadier than she felt. It felt necessary to claim some measure of control over the chaos swarming her thoughts. "Of course," Mr. Thompson replied, leaning back. Yet, she could see the wheels turning in his mind, urging her to commit. "But understand this: every moment you hesitate could be an opportunity lost." Mia swallowed, her mind racing. She had spent too long cloaked in self-doubt, and this was a chance to pivot, to seize the kind of life that had always felt just beyond her grasp. But there was a cost. The path forward might demand more than she was willing to give. "Why do you think I'm capable of this?" she asked, needing to articulate the flicker of doubt that gnawed at her confidence. "I'm just a barista. An admirer from afar." Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed, and he leaned in closer, as if to bridge the gap of distance that her self-deprecation created. "No, Mia. You're not just a barista. You have a vision. You have a voice. Every time you breathe life into coffee, you showcase an art of its own. Your father's influence isn't a shadow, it's a foundation. It gives you depth." His words pierced through her, igniting an ember of determination within. Maybe he saw something in her, something even she couldn't clearly define. "I haven't created anything yet that feels significant," she managed, feeling exposed. "What if disappointment follows? What if I fail?" "Then you embrace it, learn from it, and come back stronger," he responded, his voice unwavering. His confidence in her was palpable, a gift she found difficult to accept. Mia felt an unsettling undercurrent of excitement rise within her. What if that fear of failure paradoxically fueled her growth? She had only known safe confines, the routine of daily coffee rituals, the comforting thrum of the cafe. To leap into the unknown could mean breaking from the familiar and forging a profound connection with herself she had been too terrified to explore. "Okay," she said slowly, a tremor of anticipation threading through her. "Let us meet him. It's time to see what lies beyond the cafe walls." As she uttered those words, a swell of determination pushed through her doubt like a ship cutting through fog. There was clarity in embracing the unknown, a thrill as she stood on the precipice of her own evolution. Yet, an unsettling awareness nagged at her. Embracing this journey meant diving deeper into complexities she hadn't anticipated. The thought struck her like a sudden gust of wind. Would she fully accept the artist within? And as she looked at Mr. Thompson, the prospect of stepping beyond her father's influence loomed larger than ever. "Just one last thing," he said, capturing her attention before she could spiral back into uncertainty. "Are you ready to redefine what it means to be Mia?" Those words lingered in the air. She was at the threshold of something extraordinary, a transformation forged from fire, and she had no idea what it would demand of her. As she nodded, determination coalescing with trepidation, her heart sang with the rhythm of possibilities. And yet, she couldn't shake the question from her mind: what would she become in the process of discovery? The cafe buzzed around them, both a comfort and a reminder of her old self. There was no going back now, the path ahead shimmered with potential, albeit fraught with shadows. Mia took a breath, ready to plunge into the unknown. But at that moment, a figure stepped into the cafe that would redefine her understanding of art, ambition, and her own identity, setting a new tone for her journey ahead. As the cafe door swung open, a sharp gust of wind ushered in a chill that made Mia shiver, not from the cold, but from the immediate shift in atmosphere. The figure who crossed the threshold was striking, an older gentleman with salt and pepper hair, impeccably dressed in bespoke clothing that hinted at wealth and power. He scanned the room with an air of confidence, his presence commanding yet oddly approachable. Mia felt the environment shift, patrons inadvertently quieted, curiosity piqued. She noticed Mr. Thompson's posture straighten, his eyes glistening with recognition. "That's him," he whispered, as if afraid to utter the name aloud. Benjamin Luxton, Mia breathed, the name stirring admiration and dread in equal measure. Here was the man who could, with a mere conversation, elevate her career from the depths of the cafe to the heights of the art world. Yet, the very thought sent a wave of anxiety coursing through her. The billionaire sidled closer to their table, a smile gracing his lips as he caught Mr. Thompson's eye. "Charlie. Fancy seeing you here." The warmth of his tone seemed to dispel the chill, and Mia felt an inexplicable urgency pull her toward him. She had only seconds to make a decision: would she stand by the sanctuary of her self-doubt, or take the first step into a vivid future? "Mia," Mr. Thompson said, encouraging her with a subtle nod. "This is Benjamin Luxton." With a deep breath that steadied her trembling heart, Mia extended her hand. "It's a pleasure, Mr. Luxton." As their hands connected, an electric current surged through her, an unexpected fire that ignited her resolve. "Call me Ben," he said, his gaze scrutinizing her yet devoid of judgment. "You're Charlie's protégé, are you not? I've heard intriguing things." Mia felt a moment of panic. What could he possibly have heard? I'm just learning," she stammered, the words tumbling out. The self-doubt clawed at her throat, but she pushed through. "About art, about life," he chuckled softly, a sound that resonated with genuine interest. "Life is an art form in itself, Mia. Tell me, what fascinates you the most?" The question hung in the air, urging her to probe deeper into her own psyche. What did fascinate her? It felt as if the room constricted around her, time stretching in a peculiar way. I love exploring the way emotion interacts with color and form," she ventured, her thoughts racing. "How art can convey feelings that words simply cannot." "Ah, the vulnerability of expression," he mused, eyes glinting with approval. "Most artists shy away from that depth." The validation felt thrilling yet intimidating, stirring something within her that she had long denied. "I guess I haven't fully embraced that vulnerability," she admitted, an unexpected honesty spilling from her. "I've always stayed in my comfort zone." "Comfort zones are dangerous places for artists," Ben replied, his seriousness cutting through the air. "They keep voices muted, visions unclear. To create is to expose oneself to risk, and to invite judgment. Are you prepared for that?" As he spoke, Mia felt the walls she had carefully constructed begin to fracture. This was her moment to redefine what being Mia meant, facing her fears head-on. The theme of articulation echoed in her thoughts. She had a voice, and it was no longer time for it to be silent. "Yes," she nodded firmly. "I want to push past fear and explore what I can really create." "Good," Ben smiled, a spark igniting in his gaze. "Then let us meet again soon. Consider this your invitation into deeper waters." In that moment, excitement surged through Mia, and yet uncertainty flickered like a lamp in the wind. Could she, in fact, fulfill the expectations attached to such an opportunity? As Ben departed, leaving behind a ripple of unspoken promises, Mia felt an intoxicating blend of fear and exhilaration fill the air. She turned to Mr. Thompson, whose expression was a mix of pride and cautious skepticism. "You realize what's at stake? This isn't just an art meeting, it's a life-altering engagement you're walking into." Mia looked out the window, the streetlights glimmering like stars overhead, illuminating a path she hadn't dared to tread. "I know," she replied, a newfound steel in her voice. "But it's time to find out who I truly am." Engaging in this journey would test her not only as an artist but as a person. As determination swelled within, so did the shadows of doubt. In the weeks to come, she would need to confront her greatest challenge, yet the voice within demanding recognition against the ever-present fear of failure. What awaited her on this new horizon, she couldn't foresee. Yet, the notion of embracing the unknown was invigorating. With every heartbeat, the question lingered: what sacrifice of self was she willing to make to fulfill her destiny? The exploration had only just begun. Mia stood at her easel, the canvas blank and taunting. Each stroke of possibility echoed in her mind, yet fear remained. The inviting chill from earlier had morphed into an oppressive weight pressing down. She closed her eyes momentarily, desperate to silence the chaos of self-doubt. Days had passed since her encounter with Ben, but his words resonated deeply. Vulnerability called to her like a distant whisper, growing louder with every day she faced that empty canvas. What did it mean to embrace this vulnerability? She had always equated it with weakness, associated it with exposure and judgment. Yet now, following that brief encounter with a man who commanded rooms, the prospect of unveiling her true self was intoxicating. She dipped her brush in paint, the richness of the color mirroring the excitement bubbling within. She wanted to convey the very emotions she had yet to fully experience. Each choice she made felt like a wider step into the opaque world she yearned to join. With every stroke, she envisioned not just colors but a part of her fears, her ambitions, her identity. Mia's phone buzzed, a text from Mr. Thompson urging her to meet. She hesitated, the practical side of her craving the comfort of the familiar. Yet the weight of Ben's challenge pushed against her defenses. Wasn't this meeting in itself a step forward? A necessary leap? Motivated by his invite into deeper waters, she agreed to meet in his small gallery nestled between towering high-rise buildings. The thought of the space sparking a sense of belonging momentarily brightened her day. Perhaps she would discover pieces of herself hidden beneath layers of compromise. The gallery's walls were adorned with vivid, transient expressions, pieces achingly familiar yet foreign in their audacity. She felt as if she had entered another realm, one where the boundary between artist and spectator dissolved entirely. Enthusiasm bubbled, and she found herself imagining how her works could reside there. "Hey, Mia," Mr. Thompson called, snapping her out of her reverie. She turned to see him adjusting a frame of one of his pieces, confidence radiating from him. He'd been a guiding force, but today felt different. "You okay? I saw you gazing at the work." "Just processing," she replied, the truth echoing in her own mind. "How do you choose what to present? Isn't it daunting putting yourself out there?" "Absolutely, it is," he said, nodding in understanding. "Every piece tells a story, a part of yourself laid bare. The fear of rejection is strong, yet each rejection is just that, a step more towards finding what resonates." Each of his words resonated like a melody, and a spark ignited deep within Mia. Hadn't Ben sat across from her with this very idea? To share oneself required audacity, but it was also an invitation for validation and opportunity to discover what connected with others. "What if my story isn't worthy?" she asked, vulnerability edging back in. "Who determines that?" He stepped closer, his voice steady. "The world filters art, but your worth isn't up for debate. It's an inherent part of your humanity." A wave of relief swelled within her at his affirmation. Art was not about perfection, it was about authenticity. Embracing vulnerability didn't equate to failure, it could lead to true connection. As they spoke, Mia's decisions began to coalesce. She would push beyond the confines of her comfort zone, using her art to explore personal stories. She envisioned herself in the spotlight, confronting judgment, armed not with fear but with pride. The conversation flowed, crescendoing toward plans and excitement, but the thoughts of Ben loomed in her mind. Would he see value in her raw exploration? Would he resonate with her journey? "Ready for our first step?" Mr. Thompson asked, breaking through her thoughts. The anticipation for their collective initiative filled her with an electric urgency. "More than ever," she replied, a glow of resolution illuminating her face. As they finished discussing logistics, her phone buzzed again. A message, this time from Ben. "Looking forward to seeing what you create. Remember, great art often challenges the artist first." Mia's heart raced as she reread the words. This was no longer just about art, it was about her identity. As she left the gallery, the weight of her commitment settled upon her shoulders, a reminder of the path she'd chosen. But it wasn't heavy, it felt monumental, freeing. Little did she know, the next step would force her into a confrontation not only with the art world but with herself. Would Mia accept the invitation that lay ahead, one that would unveil every fear she'd held so tightly? The countdown to her first public exhibition was ticking down, and the stakes had never been higher. What would the reveal of her creativity, her soul, and her voice mean for her destiny? The time was drawing near. Mia stood in her small studio, glancing around at the splashes of color on her palette, colors she had chosen with care, yet they now seemed like strangers. It was time to confront the chaos of her mind and translate it onto the canvas. As anxiety crept back in, she reminded herself of Mr. Thompson's confidence, and Ben's encouraging words. This wasn't just about painting, it was about her untold story, a journey from isolation into the realm of sharing her truth. She picked up her brush again, the handle warm from her grip. Each stroke felt like an act of rebellion against the self-doubt that whispered in her ear. The empty canvas transformed into a vivid representation of her emotions, a breakthrough no longer tethered to fear. With each pass of her brush, she challenged the very notion of vulnerability she had feared for so long. As her work progressed, her mind darted back to the gallery's atmosphere, the powerful pieces demanding attention, their stories woven intricately through layers of color. What would hers say? Would it demand the same respect? Would it resonate? Every new decision was catapulted into a realm of urgency. She chose contrasting colors, dynamic shapes, and frenzied patterns that mimicked her internal battle. After hours of intense work, Mia stepped back, wiping her forehead. The piece was chaotic, yet there was a strange beauty in its rawness. This was her messy, beautiful, and undeniably real. She felt a sense of pride bubbling within her, a realization that perfection was an illusion. For the first time, she saw worth in the flawed edges of her creation. This piece was a declaration of her journey, a manifesto against the limitations she had previously accepted, but the looming certainty of the impending exhibition gnawed at her. What if, when she laid bare her soul, the world responded with indifference or derision? Deep within her, a battle ignited. She could hear Ben's words echoing in her mind that art challenges the artist first. To risk being misunderstood could lead to failure, yet avoiding vulnerability would mean missing a chance for connection. Drawing a deep breath, Mia picked up her phone. She had to share this moment with someone who could ground her as she approached the edge of her transformation. Texting Mr. Thompson seemed like a lifeline. "I've created something that feels very personal. Can we meet and talk about it?" His response came quickly. "Absolutely. I'd love to see your progress. Let us meet tomorrow at the gallery." With a surge of anticipation followed by dread, she realized that tomorrow coupled excitement with apprehension. The gap between the artist she wanted to be and the artist she had been was about to diminish. She couldn't just show him the art, she would have to explain it. Would it break the fading thread of her previous identity? Would she be able to articulate her journey without falling apart? As evening fell and shadows danced around her studio, Mia studied the painting, her fears intertwining with hope. What if this was the moment her identity finally took shape, transforming her uncertainties into a source of strength? Yet a question loomed: what if the unveiling of her truth revealed insecurities she had yet to confront? the next morning, she awoke restless, the day ahead heavy with potential. She needed to forge an understanding of herself before sharing it with others. The canvas waited for her, the stage where she would confront both the judgment of others and her own. Mia squared her shoulders, determined to embrace this new journey. The gallery was just a step, but it was a crucial one. As she prepared to leave her studio, a sudden pang of dread flashed through her. The exhibition was approaching, each moment leading to the inevitable confrontation with both her work and herself. Would she summon the courage to stand in front of the world and declare who she truly was, flaws and all? The time had come for her to decide. What revelations lay in waiting, and would she be ready to face them head-on? Mia arrived at the gallery, her heart pounding to the rhythm of her insecurities. The walls loomed around her, holding space for so many stories, and she felt the weight of expectation settle on her shoulders like a thick coat. This was not merely about her art, it was about her identity, her past struggles, and how she perceived herself in this vibrant world. She took a slow, deep breath, recalling her painting, the chaos of colors reflecting the confusion of her thoughts. How could she convey the essence of it to Mr. Thompson? Would he see the vulnerability she had bared on the canvas, or would he find it lacking? As she stepped further inside, the gallery buzzed with energy. Artists mingled and critics observed pieces, their murmurs creating an almost tangible pressure. Mia's palms grew clammy, and she wiped them on her jeans, steeling herself for what lay ahead. There was no turning back, she had to embrace the challenging path she had chosen. Suddenly, she spotted Mr. Thompson across the room, his presence commanding yet approachable. He stood by a breathtaking installation, but his gaze flicked to her as he noticed her presence. He offered a warm smile, and Mia felt a momentary relief. If anyone could guide her through this, it was him. "Mia," he called, moving towards her. "I've been eager to see what you've created." As they settled in front of her work, Mia's heart raced. It's a reflection of my emotions," she stammered, the words clumsy and full of hesitation. "I've struggled with sharing myself. This was me trying to break free from that." Mr. Thompson studied the painting, his eyes tracing the wild strokes and contrasting hues. "You've embraced your chaos beautifully," he replied, a nod of approval in his voice. "I see rawness but also intention. There's power in your vulnerability. But tell me more about what you see." Her breath caught as the question rooted into her. Mia forced herself to harness that chaotic energy, to articulate the tumult within her. "I've always found it hard to show who I truly am," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "This piece represents a part of my journey, one of finding strength in my imperfections. I thought art had to be flawless, but it's not, is it?" The conversation changed that moment for Mia, flipping the switch from fear to clarity. She felt a discovery rising within her, a surge of purpose guiding her words now. "Every messy stroke, every clash of color, it's all me. I embrace that now. But showing this to others, it terrifies me." "Terrifying is often where growth begins," Mr. Thompson replied, a reflective tone softening his voice. "Art challenges both the artist and those who engage with it. You're not just revealing a painting, you're inviting people into your experience. That is significant." With his affirmation, Mia began to understand what she hadn't fully grasped before. This unveiling was not just about approval or the fear of rejection, it was about honesty, the deep-seated truth that lay beneath the surface. It was liberation. The outcome was secondary to the act of sharing her reality. Suddenly, her eyes widened as a thought struck her, one that solidified her newfound resolve. It wasn't merely about her fears being validated, it was the potential for connection. By showcasing the real Mia, she might inspire someone else grappling with their truths. As if sensing her shift, Mr. Thompson placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Mia, this is your moment. Embrace it." She released a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, her initial terror morphing into determination. The gap between who she was and who she wanted to be began to diminish with each passing second. Yet in that, an unmistakable tension lingered. What would happen when the gallery opened to the public? Would she truly stand confidently amidst the waves of reactions? With the imminent unveiling of her truth ahead, she knew one thing for certain: she was ready to face whatever came next, and the echoes of the past would not dictate her future. But as the clock ticked closer to opening time, a heavy doubt settled in her mind. What if the world wasn't ready for her true self? Mia stood at the center of the gallery, the weight of her decision bearing down on her shoulders like a cloak. The night had arrived. The private viewing was moments away, and she found herself wrapped in a whirlwind of excitement and trepidation. Every brushstroke on her canvas danced in her thoughts, each one an echo of her journey, her struggles, and her evolution. This wasn't just a culmination of art, but a declaration of self. The walls hummed with anticipation as people glimpsed the invitation of her work. She caught Mr. Thompson's encouraging nod from across the room, his warm presence acting as an anchor against her storm of nerves. Each familiar face posing questions, wallowing in conversation, primed her to unveil the narrative behind her creation. This moment belonged to her alone. Stealing her breath, she moved closer to her painting, a manifestation of every fear and hope she had ever faced. As the lights dimmed ever so slightly, an air of gravity descended upon the room. It was time to take that leap. This was her stage, her opportunity to conquer the demons of doubt that had long shadowed her every attempt to create. She stepped forward, a spotlight honing in on her, illuminating not just the canvas but her story. "Thank you all for being here," she began, her voice steady despite the swell of emotions threatening to overtake her. "What you see before you is a piece of my heart." Murmurs of intrigue rippled through the crowd, a living testament to curiosity unfolding in the air. "I spent so long layering my life beneath a veneer of routine, trying to protect myself from judgment, from failure," she continued, vulnerability lacing her voice. "This painting reflects my journey, my father's influence, my struggles with self-worth, and my search for expression beyond fear. It represents the idea that art, like life, is meant to be messy, imperfect, and beautifully authentic." As her words nested in the silence, she observed the crowd absorbing her truth. Each nod, each whisper was their way of connecting to something deeper within themselves, something she had feared would be met with disdain. Instead, she found acceptance and reflection, mirrored back to her like a kindred spirit. The hours that followed dwelled in a haze of laughter, dialogue, and unexpected connections. Guests approached her to share their own stories, the very things that made their lives rich and textured. Mia felt every piece of self-doubt dissipate under a wave of acceptance. She realized this was not merely a gallery displaying her work, it was a collective experience, a networking of souls traversing similar roads. "Your art speaks to emotion in a way I haven't witnessed before," a fellow artist remarked, eyes glistening with admiration. "You've captured vulnerability without whispering shame. It's powerful." Mia's heart swelled at the compliment, a validation she had yearned for, yet never expected to receive. With each conversation, the fragments of her identity stitched together before her very eyes. Outside the gallery, the world continued to pulse and thrive, yet here, she found herself rooted in a reality where fear no longer dictated her aspirations. She had embraced her challenges and woven them into something uniquely her own. As the evening progressed, Mr. Thompson approached, pride radiating from him. "Mia, you've absolutely outdone yourself. Tonight has been a revelation not just for the guests but for you." His words ignited sparks of joy within her. "Everything you fought for culminated into this moment, an authentic representation of yourself." "Thank you, Charlie," she replied, gratitude pouring from her, realizing how pivotal his role had been in her transformation. "I've seen art differently since this journey began. It's more than just creating, it's about connecting and opening up to the world around us." The sense of self-acceptance wrapped around her like a warm embrace. As the night wound down and guests began to trickle out, a supportive atmosphere enveloped Mia. The fear had transformed into an emerging confidence. She had shared her voice and contributed something meaningful. This was validation not just of her artistic endeavors, but of her identity as a whole. In that defining moment, the darkness that had once clung to her faded into the background. She understood now that stepping into her power required not just courage but a commitment to authenticity. She had built her own career, her own narrative away from the shadows of expectation. She had crafted a legacy for both herself and her father, finding balance in their intertwined journeys. As Mia reflected on the evening, a resounding clarity washed over her. No longer would she harbor hesitation or retreat to comfort zones, she would embrace the artist within herself, brimming with boldness and tenacity. The world had become her canvas, and she would paint each stroke with intention and sincerity. The exhibition had transformed her not just as an artist, but as an individual. She had achieved something pivotal: acceptance of self, celebration of her journey, and the confidence to move forward with purpose. Mia was no longer just a barista or the caretaker of her father's legacy. She was an artist, a storyteller, and above all, a woman reshaping her own narrative. This was not an end but a powerful beginning. And as she stood there, surrounded by remnants of connection and forward momentum, she knew that every personal story, including hers, had the power to inspire others toward their own exploration. Now it was time for you to make a choice. You need to subscribe now to not miss more exclusive emotional stories like this. Don't wait even one more second. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help others find inspiration. Comment below your reactions and theories about Mia's journey. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Their stories deserve to be heard. Show your support. This is the moment to engage.